Yo, what's good with you? Back in black with another Enlisted video. If you guys are new to the channel and you love shooting games just like me, make sure you aim for that like button and shoot that subscribe button as well. It'll help you find better teammates and improve your skill-based matchmaking. At least I hope so. Today we're going to be comparing all the Br1 submachine guns for the Western allies and Enlisted to see which of them is the best for you in your particular playstyle. Starting off with the grease gun, I'm sure a lot of you will notice that the standout feature or con for this submachine gun is how slowly it fires in comparison to the other two we'll be taking a look at momentarily. This gun occupies the archetype of the slow and heavy hitting, which can be a good or bad thing for you depending on how you play and what you're looking for in a submachine gun. But like I said, even maxed out, this weapon only has a fire rate of 430 rounds per minute, and for that reason I'm going to recommend a playstyle that sounds kinda oxymoronic, but you want to keep the enemy at close medium range kinda sorta with this type of weapon. Generally speaking, when it comes to Br1, you're always going to be going up against squads of bolt action rifle users, so in terms of fire rate, you're always going to have the advantage at close range, but continuously forcing the issue with a gun that likes to chug along like the M3 can oftentimes get you caught by a bayonet or snap aimed by one of the few remaining bots your opponent will have as you switch from target to target mid gunfight. Not to say that you never want to push the enemy with the grease gun, as it is an assaulter weapon. You just want to be a little more cautious with your advances and have some sort of cover between you and big groups of enemies, so you will have a little bit more time to get your reloads off. You will also notice that out of all the Br1 submachine guns, that this one has the lowest recoil out of the bunch, coming in at 23 vertical and 13 horizontal. So basically this allows you to sit back further than usual, or further than one would with a submachine gun, and still remain on target while putting out more rounds per minute than a bolt action rifle. The reason I think this playstyle is kind of contradictory is because the bullet velocity of the gun is 265 meters per second, which is kind of low, so you would think that you want to be as close as possible with this thing, but again, that slow fire rate can and will get you murked. So I've come to the conclusion that achieving a sort of middle ground by playing at close medium range with this weapon is the best way to go about it, and overall it is one of my favorite submachine guns in the Br1 slot for the Western allies. Moving on from the M3 Chug Chug, we now gotta take a look at the British plumber's weapon of choice, which is gonna be the Sten. And the neat thing about the Sten in comparison to the other Br1 submachine guns for the Western Allies is gonna be that fire rate coming in at a smooth 630 rounds per minute fully upgraded. This is definitely the submachine gun that I would recommend to the newer Allied players who like to, close the distance and get as close to the enemy as possible. You will also have the highest magazine capacity at 32, albeit that is only 2 more bullets than the grease gun. The more the merrier, I always say. And despite that larger magazine capacity, I still would say it's a good idea to play around walls and corners with this weapon so you can get off as many reloads as possible, which I don't think that should necessarily be an issue because the reload speed is 2.3 seconds fully upgraded, which is identical to the grease gun. But again, weapons that have higher fire rates typically cause you to reload more often, so it is something that I would want you to be cognizant of. Lastly, and ironically, even though I'm telling you this is one of the weapons that you want to get up close and personal with, it does have the lowest damage out of the bunch, so I highly recommend aiming for the chest and head when possible to maximize efficiency in your killing. And this could be said for all submachine guns, but the weaker the caliber, the more it applies, and I think this statement is very applicable to the Sten in my personal opinion. And ironically, again, the Sten does have the best bullet velocity out of the 3 at 370 meters per second, but unlike the grease gun, I highly encourage taking advantage of that fire rate. But the Sten is actually pretty solid at medium range too. If you find the recoil to be a little too unwieldy for your personal taste, it actually comes with a semi-auto mode that you can also use, but at that point I would just recommend shooting the gun in burst, which is something that you have to do with this gun at medium range, unlike the grease gun where you can kind of just full auto that thing and it doesn't matter necessarily how far away the target is because of the slower fire rate. This one you have to be a little more calculated and precise with your bullet placement at medium range. Alright, so we've taken a look at the American metal tube and we've taken a look at the British metal tube. Let's take a look at the last Br1 submachine gun that actually has some wood on it, and of course we're talking about the M50 Reising, which I find to be kind of a middle ground between the grease gun and the Sten in my personal opinion. It shoots faster than the grease gun but slower than the Sten at 570 rounds per minute fully upgraded. The damage is also identical to the grease gun, which would make one think automatically that it's better than the greaser, but unfortunately the Achilles heel of this weapon is going to be that 20 round box magazine, which causes an increased need to play more conservatively than one would with the assaulter class otherwise. And this is only in order to not get caught in the middle of a reload. I find that an easy way to mitigate this problem is to switch the weapon to semi-automatic. This will cut down on the crazy amount of bullet dispersion that this gun has, and if you have a good trigger finger with no arthritis, the effectiveness of this gun is more or less the same, if not marginally better. But of course, switching back to full auto when the enemy is in your face is something that I would highly recommend. To elaborate a little more on saying that this gun strikes me as a bit of a middle ground between the Sten and the grease gun, you get the better fire rate than the grease gun, but again, you have to play more cautiously due to only having 20 more bullets per reload. Another thing I'd like to note is that the shot deviation on this gun says it's at 65, but it feels more like an 80 in practice, which is really disappointing considering the limited amount of bullets per reload like I said earlier. But I suppose maybe that's just trying to train you to be more precise and shoot and burst. I don't know if that's, you know, I'm saying I don't know, but I think that definitely is the strategy, especially if you're going to play with this weapon in fully automatic. And I guess just personally speaking, when I first used this gun, when it was like introduced into the game, I didn't like it that much at first, but you know, having to use it for this video, it did kind of grow on me a little bit. I find that again, you just have to be very conservative and play around head glitches because you're going to be reloading very often with this gun. But considering the fact that the sight picture is actually really good when you're aiming down sight, I do want to give it a little more credit than I gave it in the past. Usually when it comes to submachine guns, I like to lean towards an extreme, whether that be like really good accuracy or like a really high fire rate with a high capacity magazine. And the Reising, it doesn't necessarily have either, but I do find it to be a decent blend between the grease gun and the Sten. Overall, these are just my opinions, but I'm hoping my explanation and the gameplay will help you decide what you want to equip all your assaulters with in the future, or what gun you actually want to invest in as far as like upgrading the same gun over and over again. If you found any of this entertaining or insightful, don't forget to aim for that like button and shoot that subscribe button as well. Maybe share it with a new friend who just started playing Enlisted and, you know, wants to figure out which gun he should buy over and over again more than the others. And yeah, other than that, I do appreciate you guys for watching. And yeah, hope you have a lovely rest of your day. Black guy out.